What's up, guys? Today we're going to show you how to replace a transfer case bushing on a e92 XDrive vehicle. So in front of me I have the BOM Tools transfer case bushing kit, and it's like a lot of the other transfer case bushing kits, which has various little pieces in it. But one thing I want to mention immediately is that I don't think there's actually a real tool to replace this on the E9X. Even through BMW service data, I wasn't able to easily find a replacement procedure, and I also wasn't able to find any tools. We have this toolkit here that is meant for the X3s, the X5s. So you can see there it says E83, E53, E70, E71. So this is mostly for the SUVs, which these are all plug and play. You just bolt them on and it removes and installs the bushing. But the E9X uses this style bushing for a press, so putting it in is not the problem. It's removing it, that is. So we're going to show you how to use this tool here, this tool here, and this, as well as this, to remove the damaged, old, pre-existing transfer case bushing on your E9X. In this case, we're doing it on an E92 335 Xi with an N55. So we're doing a bunch of service on this vehicle. We already did an oil pan gasket on the transmission because it was leaking all over the place. And when I was there, I noticed these massive tears in the transfer case bushing. So the bushing doesn't really have a good place to mount a tool on to pull it out. So what we do is cut this area off, and it has a metal backing. We're gonna bend this backing up so we can put the clamp tool on here, allow the fixture to go on, put the bolt through, the cup on back, and suck the bushing out. So I'm gonna cut this off and bend it back, and we'll show you what it looks like after that. So now that we have this chunk of bushing cut off, there's enough room to fold this tab vertically. So that's what we're gonna do. Just take a hammer and knock on the back here. Make sure not to hit the aluminum housing. So we just knocked it back with a chisel, and that's what it's gonna look like. So now you're gonna take this piece and mount it up like this, and then screw it in from the back, just so it holds some tension and doesn't fall. Something like that. Next, we're gonna put this piece up. We're gonna find a good spot for this end, somewhere up there, and then that bottom end right there goes into this hole. All right, so once you get it all put together, it's an extremely tight fit with the exhaust on, but we're not gonna remove the exhaust this time because this is what the exhaust studs look like, and I don't wanna have to deal with that. So we're gonna show you that it can be done without removing the exhaust. So getting the cup on, I would tell you to do when you're putting the threaded rod through, and then just get the nuts on it afterwards. So it's a 19 millimeter. We're just gonna spin it and pull this bushing out. So now that we have everything approximately in position or mocked up, I just took that one piece down. What we're gonna do is go up to this location right to the left of that little like knob. So right in between that bolt and that knob, we're gonna take a nut like this, and we're gonna just put it up here and just make sure it's parallel to the transfer case. And then we're gonna put that tab on that nut. And that's gonna create a close enough distance between the attachment here and that mount. Here's a better view of how I put that nut up. And then again, we're gonna put that stud physically on top of that nut. The nut is not a specific size. It's literally just the first thing I grabbed out of my bin full of hardware. So now that dowel is on top of the nut, and we should be good to go. So this is the final setup of the rig. So again, the top pin is on that random nut, and then this is clamped here. We have the rod going through the center, that nut with the bearings right there. and then this nut back here. So one thing I want to point out, so you want to make sure that when you put it in, you're favoring the inside edge of that bushing. If you put it in straight, there's not enough room for it, so it's going to end up on the transfer case, and if you start driving that in, you're actually going to be pushing on the transfer case, and if you take it long enough, you're actually going to damage the transfer case, crack it. It's steel and aluminum, the steel's going to win, especially hardened. So the reason that you need to put it on an angle is if you look down over here, there's this little mount for the transmission to be, I don't know, hoisted by a crane or whatever. And that's going to interfere if you try to put it in straight. So you're going to favor the angle, and then you're going to draw it straight, and then it's going to pull it through. We started pulling it already, and now we're just going to take our 19 millimeter and keep pushing this through, and it should push the bushing right out. I'll do my best to do this while holding the camera. See, it's starting to come out. You can hear it pulling through. So one thing I want to point out quick is the threaded rod is going back. It is going over the exhaust, which is fine. Again, that piece right there, you can see the slight bit of contact is the reason that you have to put it on an angle. But since this is kind of pitched down towards this transfer case bushing housing, it kind of guides it in. If it were straight, you wouldn't be able to do it. But since it is pitched like that, we have the ability to. All right, and like that, it's pretty much out. So what we're gonna do is back the tool off. I'm gonna pull the bushing out. I'm gonna show you guys what's going on here. And I think I can, yeah, you can see I can move it. So it's out, it's just, yeah, there we go. All right, so bushing's out. We're gonna take this all apart, and then we'll show you guys how to put the new one in. All right, removing the fixture is far easier than installing it. So at this point, just remember to go back and grab that nut you placed up there. All right. So now what we're gonna do is clean this housing. I'm just gonna use some Scotch, and then we can throw some grease up in here. We're just gonna use a little bit of Scotch and go and clean this. You guys get the gist. I'm just gonna do that and show you what it looks like when it's done. So that's what it looks like now that it's clean. I'm gonna take some silicone or some dry graphite, and we're gonna lubricate this a little bit. I just grabbed my bushing. It came out of the freezer. I'd say it's imperative that you take it, or that you put it in the freezer first. It's gonna shrink it, make it much easier to go in. Along with that, we have the correct press tool for it. So this is gonna go in like that, sort of. And then what we're gonna do is take the same tool that we used to pull it through, except this time we're gonna mount it so it's actually pushing against the side of the case like that, and it's gonna pull the bushing through. So instead of going in like this way, as we did before, we're not gonna go straight, we're gonna go like this. All right, so just with the silicone and the freezer method, it already went in about halfway. We're gonna put the fixture on now. And this is what it looks like on final installation. So we're sitting over that lip, it's gonna grab it. The angle can be disregarded, it will level out. And now we're just gonna turn that 19 mil. Here it is after a few turns. You can see it leveled out. All right, and there we are, fully seated. You don't want to go super tight on that nut. There is a bearing there, and it's giving you a lot of assist that you're not feeling. So the second it feels like there's tension building up, just stop right there. You can see nice, tight, flush fitment. And now we can take it apart. And there it is, fully reinstalled. If you want, you could put this fixture face back on and give it a couple taps with the mallet. And you can seat it a little bit more, but I mean, we're right up in there. So as you can see, it is possible to do in-car with that universal tool. We're gonna go ahead and drain and fill the transfer case, fully service that, and then do some work on the drive shaft up here too. But yeah, hopefully this video was useful and not too shaky and all over the place, but it kind of is what it is. So here's the bushing out of the car. You can see the cracking up there, the full-blown cracks down there, another one forming there. And then on the other side, you just see all the stress. This car had a front drive shaft failure at some point, apparently from just doing launches from digs. And I'm sure that either killed this bushing or vice versa. But yeah, this is what it's gonna look like after you bend that piece back, cut all that rubber off, and you should have no problem doing this.